Little deeper, as the kids say, into the GOP primary race. We're joined now by Craig Crawford, politics blogger at craigcrawford.com, and of course the author of The Politics of Life. Craig, good evening.
Oh, we got enough shovels to dig that deep.
That's in choosing our weapon here, our shovel of choice. What are the differences demographically between Illinois and what we saw in Alabama and Mississippi? And are just the demographics explanation enough for why those early numbers suggest that Romney should do 10 points or better than Santorum tonight?
Got to be a big part of it, Keith. I mean, we have half the percentage in these Republican Illinois primary voters, half the percentage saying they're very conservative or evangelicals as you had in Alabama and Mississippi. I mean, the pattern we're seeing here is Santorum only wins in states that are as crazy as he is. In the South, the rest of us aren't exactly proud of Alabama and Mississippi and their political past. It's often said by the rest of us, Alabama and Mississippi, they're too small to be nations and they're too large to be mental institutions.
Yes. Once said of every state in the South just before the Civil War, as I recall. Mr. Santorum has been the GOP leader when voters have been polled and asked who best understands average America's problems or average Americans' problems. If he hasn't already, in terms of, because it happened so late relative to the Illinois vote, will he poke a hole in that with that statement that unemployment, sort of implying that unemployment is not the most important thing, even for those who are unemployed?
Well, Santorum's problem, and I think another reason he's having trouble in Illinois and probably will in future states now, is they're seeing this gaffe machine that he is. The poor guy, he takes one step back and then backflips another 3 or 4 and is always explaining himself. But on the substance of this one, the argument he was trying to make, and it's a pretty good one if he'd been articulate about it, is, hey, Romney's a Johnny One-Note candidate. He's all about the economy. His whole resume is all about being the nominee in the fall with a bad economy. And Santorum's trying to say he's a broader candidate than that. He can speak to more issues than Romney. He didn't articulate it that way at all, and it came across like he didn't care about unemployed people. But in this gaffe machine sweepstakes going on between he and Romney, he's making Romney look like his words are the Gettysburg Address by comparison.
Unless Santorum pulls an upset, both based on what we saw in the polls and also what we're seeing on the exit polls, unless he does that, what time does the drumbeat begin to raise tomorrow that he should drop out and Gingrich should drop out and everybody should just get out of Romney's way?
I'm beginning to think it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. I'm going to officially retire my tinfoil hat tonight, Keith. This race, I think, is winding down because these opponents, Gingrich and Santorum, they just couldn't take advantage of what was right in front of them. In particular, Santorum in Ohio, in Michigan, now in Illinois. He had his opportunity to prove he had big, broad appeal in big states and could take Romney down and at least give him a run for his money or hold him to a number of delegates below the magic number, and I just don't see that happening anymore. These opponents are too weak.
Lastly, the dog polling. 35% of voters say the story of Seamus makes them less likely to vote for Romney. And I say this every time this comes up, that the unconventional wisdom or the conventional wisdom on this has underestimated this story, and woefully so. Let me hear your thoughts once again on Seamus's legacy.
I'm coming around to you, Keith. It's such a weird story. I just can't believe it makes a difference, but Democrats are certainly believing it.
35% is a big number to move people's opinions, even just a little bit.
I mean, after all, Lyndon Johnson had to forego re-election when he caused the stir holding his beagles up by the ears.
Well, I don't think any historian will say that was the only reason. Might have had something to do with the disaster that was Vietnam. But
maybe that Vietnam dealio. But the thing we got to, this Seamus story, there's one piece of it that puzzles me is there's a contradiction between what his sons later told reporters about what happened to Seamus. They said when they got to Canada, the dog ran away. Yeah. So apparently he sought asylum in Canada. But his wife, Romney's wife, has said the dog lived a long and fruitful life, and I hope that comes up in a debate. We've got to get to the bottom of that.
The dog stayed in Canada as a draft dodger, as I think he'll be painted right before the campaign is over, so we can explain why he had to be tied to the roof. Craig Crawford, the author of The Politics of Life, now available without prescription. Thank you, Craig.
Good to see you.